Welcome back to Play Tessie. It is episode 50, and if you're listening on drop day, it's March 11th. Episode 50 goes without saying. We don't need to say who the episode it is. We'll call it the Cutter Crawford episode.
I like that more.
Yeah, we'll call it the Cutter Crawford episode. This is the official podcast of John Cena following you on Twitter, also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Rate us 5 stars and hit that subscribe button. Get those notifications when episodes drop. And hit us up on the YouTube channel, WEI's YouTube page. And we've got our own little playlist on there. And you can rate 5. Or no, you can. There's no stars on YouTube, right? You just thumbs up. You thumbs up on the YouTube and hit us with that subscribe for that WEI channel. Hit us up on socials at PlayTessie on both Twitter and Instagram. So I'm here with Sammy and Pat today. Coop's behind the scenes. Before we get going, because we've got a couple things to get going on the rundown. First of all, awesome job on the radio this weekend, guys.
Yeah, likewise.
Good job, fellas.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We jumped on with Brad on the Baseball Isn't Boring show Saturday. We were on from 1 to 3. It was really good getting to talk with Julian McWilliams. Will Fleming jumped on for a little bit too. He was boots on the ground in the DR. And if you haven't seen that, we have that whole, I want to say we have the whole thing up on the YouTube page. And some interesting stuff. We could actually get into some of that. But before we do that, Sox just played 2 games in the Dominican Republic. I have no idea if you guys have any takeaways from that at all. I don't know if you watched it. I don't know. Anything at all from that noteworthy from you guys? I mean, not even from the games played, just like from like the trip or whatever. Like, do you have anything from that?
It was nice to see some good vibes. I guess you could say that.
Yeah, I think it looked like the guys enjoyed themselves. I think both managers, Cora and Cash, were saying how awesome it was to be down there, being in that atmosphere, how much baseball means down there. So, yeah.
I thought it was like, I forget who made the point. It was either when we were on the radio or it was on the telecast for one of the games, but they were like, someone said they split the spring training down the middle with it. It's like spring training can get really repetitive. You're there for a long time, and like they have to be because the pitchers need that time to build up their arms. But for the hitters, it's just like you're there for over a month. And so many of these guys report now with pitchers and catchers. They go as early as they can, get their work in, but that means they're there for like a month and a half. And hitters don't usually need that long to get ready. So having something like this, team building, not even an exercise is the wrong word, but like a team building trip. Get to go to a place that some of these guys hold near and dear to their hearts. Dog is barking in the background again. But yeah, I thought that was good. My one takeaway from it was the walk-up songs. Did you guys hear that they played like the walk-up songs like 10 times per at bat?
No, I didn't, but that's great. I wish there were more like theatrics in baseball. I think that would make it more fun, kind of like basketball.
Yeah, I know, it was weird. And they were using all of last year's walk-up songs. So like, I almost like in a way got PTSD, like with Rafaela's walk-up. Nothing against Rafaela or like his walk-up song or anything, but I just associate his walk-up song with bad September baseball. So like when I heard that song like 10 times per at bat, like I was like, ugh, I like shivered inside.
I will say, when we're talking about walk-up songs, one thing I'm gonna miss about Verdugo is Volver. I like that song. That was the traditional Mexican music. That was great.
Yeah. And on the other hand of that, there's one of the Rays players. I actually think it might have been our guy, Harold Ramirez. There's a song, and maybe this is a cold take on my part, but that's Selena Gomez song. Calm down. Yeah, calm down.
Oh, great song. Great song.
I hate that song, dude. And I heard that. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Wait, I actually, like, jokes aside, can you keep singing it?
Okay. It's like, calm down. Calm down.
You sound like Sean Paul.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Jordan and Rebecca.
Sean Paul. Yeah.
Shama give it to.
Yeah. Hearing that song like at least 15 times a game because it played like 5 times per Harold Ramirez at bat. Not my favorite, but like, I don't know. Bobby Dahlbeck said he liked it. I read that somewhere. He's like, yeah, it's cool hanging out hearing that. Like, I don't know, change of pace. I don't know. Weird. Dominican, good experience for the guys. Not a ton for us to talk about trip wise, I don't think. I think maybe the people who were there, boots on the ground there, might have some fun stories, some things they can tell, some things they can't. I thought it was funny.
Yoshida continues to have the greatest aura on the team. I don't know if you guys
Oh,
saw
yeah.
those pictures of him on the boat with the drink next to Rafi.
Yeah.
Cool.
Drip God. Are you kidding me?
He is a drip god,
That
isn't
guy
he?
just oozing swagger these days.
Yeah. What was? Oh yeah, Cora had a funny quote too, because Cutter pitched 3 scoreless and he looked fine. He looked good, but it wasn't quite as dominant as his last spring outing. And Cora was basically like, yeah, like props to Cutter, like he gutted it out. Like we're all partying the night before. Like he did his best, man.
I was wondering that. You see all those pictures of them drinking the day before. I'm wondering, like, how many of those guys are hungover? How many of them are like me, where they have like 2 drinks and then it just ruins their next day? I wonder if anyone was like really hurting. Of course, we won't ask, but it's in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had a good time, which is good because it's a spring training game. It's not like it's like, oh, they went out partying and then they lost a regular season game to the Rays. And it's like, what the hell, man? There's none of that. Like, they had a good time in spring training and they won both games too. So, but let's jump into something because we got a couple of things to go into today. But I thought we had some good rotation talk on the radio. Actually, no. Before we get there, thoughts on a couple. I mean, the Kasus extension stuff is just a constant point of discussion. And if you were listening to the radio, you heard Will Fleming say that he's just heard from multiple areas that they continue to talk extension with Casas, and he wouldn't be surprised if they got something done with Casas before the end of the spring. It was TC asked Casas on the broadcast, like props to TC for doing that, about the extension talks. He basically said like, no, nothing new to report. But then Alex Spear article dropped after the second game, so I cut like an hour or two ago while we're recording this, and I should get the quote. Hold on. I'll pull up the quote.
Gordo, while you're looking for that, one thing I want to say is I think when Casas is extended, because I do think he'll be extended, I think it's going to come out of the blue, kind of like Bello, where we get a little bit of smoke, but generally it kind of happened fast. So it's going to be something like that. The fact that we're getting rumblings now, I think, is a good sign. And you know how I don't like to read into quotes and stuff. I think it's generally kind of a waste of time. This feels a little bit different. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, but just feels like it's inevitable. How could they not extend a guy like that, especially after how good he was in his rookie season? Woo.
Yeah. So, okay, I've got the quote here. And I want to preface it by saying I agree with you, Sammy. Like, normally, so many of these quotes are so taken out of context, and you have to hear, like, what came before the quote, how was their tone when they said whatever they said. Like, there's so much that goes into these things, and, like, most of the time people don't wonder about that stuff at all. But the Casa stuff is interesting because he's been asked about this so many times for basically since winter weekend. And this week alone, he got asked at least like 5 or 6 times that we know of. And this quote that Alex Spear wrote was, quote, "We're just talking right now. Nothing set in stone. No numerical values yet," said Casas. "Hopefully something comes out of the woodwork soon. I'd love to see where they're at, but as of right now, no developments. There have been talks in the past, but nothing has really accelerated up to now." So, I don't know. We hear so much smoke. Casas basically confirming they're still talking. Will Fleming dropping on the Baseballs and Boring show on the radio this past Saturday that he thinks something could get done before the season. I don't know. What do you got? Like, Sammy, you said you think something's going to get done?
Yeah, I do. It just makes no sense with the way they're operating. They're showing that with the Bello extension, they want to extend the young guys. Whitlock too. I just can't imagine a world where they don't do this. You want to win on a budget. Extending a guy young is how you do it. So do it.
Yeah, I think it doesn't. It kind of feel oddly familiar to when Rafi got his extension. Like there's a little bit of rumblings, and then it's nothing, and then a little bit more rumblings, and then nothing. Then they're not close, and then it's like a lot of steam, kind of a break, a lot of steam. I'm with Sammy. I think
that's kind of what Bello did too. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I think this is something that gets done by the end of spring. But I think Casas is smart enough, even if there is like a number out there that he like, even there's not obviously one in place, but if he has his number or they have a number, he's smart enough not to play his hand and say like, oh, like they gave me a pretty good offer. Like he's gonna play coy, which is smart. We're still talking. Love to see where they're at, but I'm with Sammy. I think something gets done before opening day, as it should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is mostly speculation on my part. Excuse me, but it just feels like with the quotes that Casas has provided us, it seems like he's not going to be a guy who's 100% about the money. And it doesn't mean he's going to take a cushy, team-friendly deal, nor should he. I want him to get his money. He deserves it. But it doesn't sound like he's going to hold out for that first percentile offer that's just perfect, you know?
And it's interesting because we've talked to Rob about this and he said it, and I've heard Chris Cotillo say it multiple times too, that they think Casas is the type that would bet on himself, which, yeah, he's a really confident kid, and with a first baseman with a bat, not like Brayan Bello, there's a lot less risk here with betting on yourself. Like with Bello, I mean, a good example is imagine what Alek Manoah would have signed for if he'd signed a contract a year ago. Now, like, is he even going to make like $4 or $5 million in his whole career? And he could have signed for like well over $100 million last year. So like those careers for pitchers are fragile. Whereas Casas, he's all on his bat, and I'd feel good about my career if I'm Casas. But at the same time, when you listen to him, he says, I'd love to be in Boston for my career. I'm open to these talks. Like, I just want enough so that I can be paid for the work that I put in, set up my family for life. Like, I don't need anything crazy. And one thing that I think, yes, Sammy?
Go ahead. I'll talk about it after Casas. I have a question.
Okay. The one thing that actually piqued my interest, and I thought about this as soon as they extended Bello, because Bello's deal, and basically any young extension like this, it basically, like, they're paying Bello $1 million in salary this year. But his luxury tax, his CBT hit, is the average of the entire contract divided by the years. So his CBT hit is $9 million. It's possible that part of the reason for their budgetary constraints is, and it's a cash constraint. It's not likely a CBT constraint. It's a cash constraint. And part of it, it's entirely possible that part of the reason they have that in place is so they can have higher CBT hits for Casas and Bello and save money at the same time. Like, they could go right up to the luxury tax line and still, in terms of cash, spend tens of millions of dollars below that, which is honestly, when you factor in the Liam Hendricks contract too, that's probably what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. No debate on my end.
I think I'm
I think that's pretty clearly what's going to happen. Gordo, the question I wanted to ask you was, you referenced Alek Manoah as kind of a cautionary tale of a guy who bet on himself, fell off, and ended up costing himself a lot of money. Obviously, that is more the outlier than the norm. That's an extreme example. Just curious, like a fun little baseball tidbit, who would be the hitter version of that? Like a guy who just started off hot and then fell off, like completely fell off the cliff. I got one in mind.
Who do you have?
I was going to say Chris Coughlin. Coughlin.
Oh,
Coughlin.
Was he rookie of the year?
Miami, 2010.
2010? Okay.
I think 2010 NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Marlins. He was really good.
My example is not quite as drastic as that, because Coughlin basically went from rookie of the year to like a backup, right? Like I've got two. One is similar to that. Eric Hinsky is kind of similar to that one.
Yeah, rookie of the year and then fell off. Can we get a poll going? We should do a poll about that. Who is the hitter equivalent to Alek Manoah in that completely fell off a cliff? Like, Manoah he's a shocking example. He goes from Cy Young
ridiculous
candidate to like not even a major league pitch. Pat's got one.
Yeah, what do you got?
Might. I wouldn't like, not to the extent of Manoah, who's like perennial Cy Young guy, or whatever. Do you guys remember how fucking good Joe Panic was?
Oh, that's a good one. He basically went from,
was
he an all-star?
2-3 year run where he was like a multi-time all-star, young franchise guy, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's just like nothing. He's gone.
Okay, I've got another one. This guy didn't fall off quite as hard, but his peak, Yasiel Puig, when he first came up, was all that.
Yeah, he was fun, man. We need more on the field only, more Yasiel Puig type players who are just electric factories. I don't even know what his off-field issues are.
There's been a lot of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you specifically either because I just feel like they always come up. I know he gets in brawls a lot. We see those videos of him like in like whatever league he's playing in, just like absolutely wailing on people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one though. I was thinking Grady Sizemore, but his was more gradual.
His was injury related.
Yeah, injury. It has to be a guy who just completely goes from, not 0 to 60, from like 60 to 0, falls off a cliff overnight. Because the Manoah, like, I can't recall a guy falling off that bad pretty much ever. It's pretty
and
impressive.
It's not even like it's like, I would get it if it's like, oh, he had like 2 Tommy John surgeries back to back. Like, no, it's not that.
Joe Panic. I looked it up. 1-time All-Star, Gold Glove winner, World Series. His first 4 years, he hit 305, 312, 239, 288. OPS plus was 105, 129, 88, 102. Not a superstar by any means, but that's a guy you would look to lock up because he was 23, 24, 25, 26 during those seasons.
Yeah, and then that was that. That was it.
Yeah, then he just bopped around.
That
cool
was
name too. That's such a marketable name, Joe Panic.
But the other, I want to say like nugget that came out in our radio appearance was from Julian McWilliams, because we got on the subject of Jesus Lazaro, and Julian McWilliams used to cover the Oakland Athletics, and Jesus Lazaro came up with the A's, and they know each other from Oakland, and I forget what the context of it was, but we were talking about the Red Sox getting their ace or getting their frontline guy and how they were going to go about it. And he basically said that Jesus Lazaro, the last time he pitched at Fenway, like loved it so much and like has expressed that he would be like totally down to pitch in a place like Boston, and like that was special to him. And like obviously like hearing that, like it's all general enough where, oh, Coop, you've got the audio. Coop, you want to play the audio? Let's get that quote in here.
People, they can't come out and say, no, like we like the guys next year better than we like the guys this year, including Jordan Montgomery. They can't say that, but that has to be part of the conversation.
Do we think that like if they did sign Jordan Montgomery this year and they win, let's say 83, 84 games, like a respectable amount, nothing crazy, do you think it makes them more likely to spend the following year on a real ace?
No, but whether you spend on the free agent guy or you trade for a guy and then you need to lock that guy up, right? Jesus Lazaro or whoever it is, it's
be another game.
Yeah, I mean, but
100%. I think he's a better pitcher in terms of stuff wise than Montgomery is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was like our guy for months on Play Test. We were talking
I think
about
that's a guy that and I covered Jesus when he was in Oakland, and like, trust me, he would be interested in pitching. But I talked to him when he was here the last time he pitched, and he's like, dude, I've never pitched in a place like this. It was an amazing experience. And he's like, the mound is like just different.
It is the best mound in the league. That's what I heard.
About the mound and all that stuff. So there would be interest on his part if he were to be, possibly dealt here. But who knows? I don't know what the Red Sox are thinking.
I'm telling you that the thing that.
So yeah, Julian drops an interesting nugget there. Like he knows Jesus Lazaro and he'd be down to pitch in Boston. And like, it's just obviously it takes two to tango with a trade. And like, obviously the reason he would be cool pitching in Boston also applies to a team like the Yankees, who's been rumored to be interested in him as well, potentially even more so than a team like the Sox. But I thought that was an interesting nugget.
All right. Rafaela and Houck for Lazaro. Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Without blinking.
I would do it too. You think Miami does that? Even like with Rafaela
No.
like absolutely on fire? I don't think it's enough. Yeah.
Wait,
yeah,
what?
All right, Rafaela and Perales.
Yeah,
still not
even
enough.
easier.
I would need to go on
Chris
Justin
Davis.
That's the best example. That is perfect. Shout
So
out
for-
Justin MLB.
But
That's the best.
But he did get his money.
For the listeners,
Well, yeah.
we have we posted the question on Twitter already. Who is the Alek Manoah of hitting? And our buddy Justin at Justin MLB says not active anymore, but Chris Davis. And Chris Davis definitely like was good at the right time and got his money, but he did have the epic Alek Manoah style fall off where it's like not even because of injury. He did have that. That's a
Yeah, I
good
mean,
one.
if you just ignore the money part, that's the perfect
Yeah.
example, dude. How many home runs? 50,
4.
Like,
54
oh my
home
God.
runs, and
He
then
hit,
just
like,
turns into a pumpkin.
he hit
Nuts.
over 30 in the first half of that season, I want to say. I remember thinking 60s in the realm of possibilities for this guy.
Remember when he went 0 for like 56 or whatever? I
Yeah.
saw the hit. I was at the game. It was at Fenway. He hit a little single to right field, and the crowd actually cheered for him too. They get like people in the Fenway crowd knew what was happening, unfortunately, and they gave him not a standing ovation, but they cheered for him.
That's why Boston crowds are the best. They always understand what's going on. Like you could see it like with the Celtics crowds. Like anytime Jordan Walsh gets in the game and like he was looking for like his first NBA points, and like the entire crowd knows what's going on.
Oh,
Ugh,
dude,
these fans
it's
deserve so.
we get frustrated with the fan bases here, but living on the West Coast and also just on Twitter, you read what people are saying. There's no like Boston fans are unbelievably knowledgeable about their teams. And it might not feel like it all the time because we're in this bubble, but it's not really even close in my opinion. It's like Boston, Philly, and I don't know who else is Chicago, maybe, but like we have a very educated fan base. I think we should be happy about that.
Yeah, people can get like chippy and like obviously annoying at times, but the fact of the matter is this is probably the most educated fan base. When you combine all the sports, probably the most educated baseball fan base, probably the most educated basketball fan base. Like people know what they're doing here in Boston.
Yeah, my buddy, and it also like hardcore fans too. My buddy visited from the San Francisco area, a guy I went to school with, and one of the first comments he had was, "It's unbelievable how many people were wearing Patriots stuff." It was in the middle of the Brady Belichick dynasty, and they had a game like the next day or something. Just everybody's repping the team, and then it would, when the Celtics are in the playoffs, everyone's going to be in green, and then the Bruins, Red Sox in 2029 when they're in the playoffs, everyone's going to be hyped. So. Looking forward to it.
That'll be fun, man. You might be retirement age by then, but
I was gonna
hopefully,
say,
hopefully you're still with us.
My 50th birthday by then. It'll be fun.
All right. We could let's talk some pitching here. Garrett Whitlock pitched today, and it was up and down. Like the result was okay, but if you look at how it actually went, his velocity was good in the first, and he hit 97 at one point, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but it dipped from around 94 to 97 to in the fourth inning. He got pulled in the fourth when he hit 50 pitches, but it was down to around 92, 93 at that point. The concerning thing for me, 50 pitches, he got 32 swings on those, and of those 32 swings, he only got 3 whiffs. So this is a guy who we've talked about it with him. We've talked about it with Houck. We've talked about it with Cutter. In short bursts, awesome, elite, great. But it's just when you stretch him out, how does the stuff transition to that guy, to the starter version of Garrett Whitlock? I'm going to kick it to you guys. Pat, I'll kick it to you first because I saw you giving the thumbs down. How concerned are you following this outing from Whit?
He's not a starter. We've seen it. He's not. I would much rather him go 2 innings out of the bullpen, pumping 96 with his legit stuff than try and be stretched out with a tick down in velo and a tick down and stuff and pitch to a mid-4s ERA. He's so much more valuable out of that multi-inning bullpen role that he should be in my opinion.
So what would your rotation plan be? And Sammy, I'll ask you the same question after. But Pat, if Whitlock's not in the rotation, and you can factor in trades or free agency, be realistic with it. But what would you do if Whit is not in the rotation?
So Pivetta, Crawford are already in. Bello, obviously. You have to go Houck at this point. You at least have to give him one last shot.
So you got 4.
And I don't know what you do for that 5th one. You could risk it with Whitlock. In my opinion, it makes a ton of sense to go and get a guy like Lorenzen, who you can kind of piggyback with Whitlock. One gives you 3, the other gives you 2 or 3. Like that's the kind of thing that you should be doing at the 5 spot. If you're trying to get starter innings out of Whitlock, it's not going to go well. It's not going to be pretty.
Sammy, what do you got on that?
I just can't believe we're having this fucking conversation after last season. You have to bring someone in. The Red Sox don't have the luxury to be toying around with guys like Whitlock, because if he's not a starter, where are those innings going to come from? I'm just purely thinking in terms of where are the innings going to come from. Not even, I'm beyond the point of thinking, how's this guy going to do as a starter? Now I'm thinking, can he even give you 120 innings?
You're talking health wise.
Yeah,
because that's the other angle of this.
Yeah, that's what I've been so upset about this entire time. We saw guys go down from overuse, and Pat we did some bro math a few episodes ago. Like, maybe not have been the perfect equation, but it just shows how many more innings everyone's going to be expected to throw. The loss of Giolito is so huge. But to answer your question, I think I agree with Pat. I'd give Bello the opening day start, just kind of as like a nod, like you're our guy. Pivetta second. That's a big, Pivetta, your number 2 starter, got kicked out of the rotation last year, so I don't think he's going to complain. Cutter Crawford as your number 3 guy. Insane that's happening. I like him. I think he's got good upside, but just insane that he's your number 3 starter. Another guy we saw get burnt out last year, by the way. 4, Houck is my pick. I think he'll be a solid starter, but it wouldn't surprise me if he struggled as well. And then the last spot, you have to get a guy like Lorenzen. Lauer was the other guy I mentioned. He just signed with Pittsburgh on a minor league deal. So you could have filled that role with a minor league deal. A guy who's had success in the past. He's not great, but, can log innings. He's healthy now. I just don't get it. It seems so neglectful. We're talking about Cooper Criswell filling the 5th spot. The guy has had 2 major league starts, and he has an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. I don't want to dump on the guy, but give me a break. It's absurd.
He got hit around a little bit in his last start. He had 2 really good innings, and then the third just fell off. And like normally you look at that with whatever, but this is a guy who, as you said, has made 2 big league starts. He's been an extended inning reliever guy, but that does not mean that he's been a 5 or 6 inning guy. So, and not to mention, we're talking about Whitlock right now, but Winkowski had a similar issue in his start. Or not a start. He came out of the bullpen for 3 innings. Basically, whatever, a start. In the first DR game, he threw 3 scoreless, but he wasn't getting whiffs. And the thing about Winkowski is when he's throwing extended innings, that sinker velocity goes down. Can he get whiffs? Because you need that as a starter, and he didn't get it. I don't have the numbers on me, but now you're basically toying with that 5 spot. Like they'll say Cooper Criswell, but to me, Houck has basically earned a rotation spot at this point. As you guys basically said, he's in your 4. Right now it's Whitlock versus Winkowski, and with what we've seen, I agree with you guys. You got to go from the outside.
What if if Whitlock does go into the bullpen, like we all agree he should, and Winkowski also goes into the bullpen, like I think Gordo and I think Pat, you're a little more open to him starting, but I think we would all prefer him in the bullpen. If it's not Criswell, is Jason Alexander your number 5 starter?
No. Sammy,
I want this guy to do well. I love his face.
They would do like Brandon Walter before they did Jason Alexander.
Oh yeah, you could go Walter, I guess. Yeah. But Mongolian warlord.
Is there another? I'm thinking of Criswell. God damn, dude. Fuck. This is ridiculous.
Bring someone in, man. What's
Sammy,
Michael Lorenzen gonna get? Do you think you could get Michael Lorenzen for 1 year, $13 million?
Less.
Well, he's apparently, according to Rosenthal about a week ago, he's still looking for 2 years. And now the issue, of course,
Rosenthal. Nobody knows anything. I don't believe. I'm at the point where I'm like a tinfoil hat conspiracy guy. Everyone's being lied to.
He may not get 2 years, but it would make sense that he's still looking for it because he hasn't signed. But
and then Montgomery wants 7. So
he got
okay. But wasn't that who said that one? That one was like Heyman
or something.
I guess Heyman. Like
but last year in Detroit, Lorenzen got 1 for 8. Yeah, 1 for 8. So I think you could probably get him for one year 10.
But now you have to pose the question. Okay, I'll pose a question to you guys, and I think the answer is obvious. Maybe not. I think it is. If they sign Michael Lorenzen, it's the same thing with Jordan Montgomery. They're going to, in their eyes, need to shed salary. Would you trade Kenley Jansen for non-40-man prospects, guys who are not close to Major League ready? So you can't say that those guys are going to help the Major League team. You're trading Kenley Jansen for whatever to shed that salary so you can sign like Michael Lorenzen. Are you doing that, Pat?
They should have done that last week, yeah.
Sammy?
No, because you can shed. Okay, actually, yes and no. I would trade him, but I would wait until the deadline because you can be over the luxury tax up until like the end of the season. If you get under it at the end, you're good. So,
But it's not
I
about the
would.
tax.
It's not the
about-
luxury tax.
That's a
It's
luxury tax. Their budget is what I mean. Sorry, not the luxury tax.
But now,
You can keep
now you're
Kenley,
paying-
sign Lorenzen, and then at the deadline you trade Kenley. Because like Gordo, we talked about this yesterday. Most of the time, I'm of the belief you trade guys when they have more control. But with a closer, I feel like that's the one position where it's a little different, just because teams are desperate. And like if you're looking for a closer, you kind of feel like you're a piece away. So I feel like you sign Lorenzen now, trade Kenley at the deadline. Unfortunately, like we all like Kenley, but he deserves to be on a contender, and they need to shed salary even though there's no cap.
But that's the issue, Sammy, is like we all would agree with you. Like, yes, that is absolutely the best way to maximize your value, but they have this fucking budget that is making them make
I know.
decisions that are not in the best interest of the baseball team.
I'm in the confines of the budget still. I'm just saying trade him at the deadline instead. You're still paying this. You could still pay under the budget that they've set.
So Kenley makes $16 million. If you trade him at the deadline, that's over halfway through the season. I assume that means you would have paid 10. So you, I guess, can afford to sign Lorenzen up. No, in that case, you would only be able to sign him up to $6 million unless you got a team to give you cash or something. I don't know.
But they're still technically not at their budget.
What's the budget? Do you know what the budget is?
Wasn't it like 222?
No, that was last year. They think the budget is like 210 and they're at like 206 or something.
This is so stupid.
Oh, this is the worst conversation ever. I hate this, dude. We're poverty, man.
Today I was on Twitter trying to learn about this Dave Cavall guy who's the A's president. He's not the owner.
I saw this.
Yeah, and I wrote like who is this guy? And A's fans like the coolest people. They were just like, oh, he sucks. He like ruined our team. And like, I didn't want to be like, yo, I get how you feel, but we're like trending. Not that we're at the same level of as the A's. That's crazy. But like same sentiment. We're just feeling like the team is being neglected, and it's frustrating. Like I get the frustration now. It's so.
Could you imagine? We would think if like in 5 years FSG was like, we're gonna move the team to Vegas. Like we would remember this offseason and be like, we didn't realize how good we had it, man. Like they were at least playing in Boston.
We're here. We had a
here,
team.
At least we have the Fenway experience, man.
Yeah, man. I wonder like at what point do the owners care about like how people view them? Do they care at all anymore? John Henry used to care. That's why I asked. He used to care a lot. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because you're right. They used to. It felt like any time anything would go wrong, they would course correct, and like that would be the way that you could like shit on ownership. It'd be like, oh my god, like they're not being patient. They are insisting on paying guys that aren't going to work out. These contracts are going to bust. Like we would kill to be paying guys whose contracts are going to bust.
people will be like, oh, you want them to remember what happened with Sandoval? You want that to happen? I'm like, sure. It's better than doing nothing. It's better than having no shot.
Last year they didn't have a second baseman, and 2 years ago they didn't have a right fielder. The right fielder, that one's a better example because they legitimately, even like injuries aside, entered the year without a right fielder. Like, oh my god, I would have paid. Who's like the biggest bust of an outfielder? Like I'd have paid anybody.
Justin Upton.
Sure. God. We had Christian Arroyo out there like waving his arms around while balls landed behind his head.
Oh, I was at that game too. That was rough.
Did they get an out at home on that play?
I don't know.
Or was that a different play?
You know what's funny is I went to the two Yankees. It was Red Sox Yankees. I went to two of them back to back. I went to the one where the Red Sox got destroyed with my friend who's a Red Sox fan, and we were both sad. And then the next night, Verdugo like walked off the Yankees, and I was with my friend who's a Yankees fan, so he was sad, and I was like, damn, I should have swapped these games and gone with my Yankees friend to the Yankees win, and yeah, nobody cares. So, but yeah, that would be nice to have one hole on the roster. We've done this exercise before. We have agreed that 7 of 9 lineup spots are question marks,
and that's the lineup.
Yeah, that's just the lineup. The entire rotation outside of Bello to me is a question mark. I know people are high on Pivetta.
I agree.
He got kicked out of the rotation less than a year ago. Still a question mark to me.
I'm like legitimately at this point higher on Cutter Crawford than I am on Nick Pivetta, and that's not even like saying anything bad about Nick Pivetta. Like I think he's gonna have a solid year. It's a walk year, like all that, but I mean we've just seen this from him so many times. Like we were running an all-star campaign for him in 2022, so like this wouldn't be the first time we've seen Pivetta look great and then fall off a cliff. Cutter, on the other hand, his stuff this spring, oh my god, and that's building off stuff that looked great last year too. So I mean, we've talked about this. We've been down the Cutter Crawford road. I'm sure we'll go down that road again, particularly once he starts pitching in the regular season. But I want to bring us over to the center field conversation. We were texting about this in the chat today as we record Sunday. Sedon Rafaela hit another home run on Saturday's game. He hit a 2-run double. Obviously, like awesome defensively. They talked a little bit about some adjustments he made in the offseason, talk about his hand position similar to what's been going around about Devers. Rafaela did something similar. He's been reducing some movement in the box that leads to a little bit better vision, and the Sox have been encouraged by his progress. I want to give a temperature check because, Sammy, I want to give you a chance to talk first because I know you said on Twitter that you've changed your stance on Rafaela. Do you want him to be the starting center fielder in Seattle opening day?
Yeah, I think at this point he's been so good. And normally spring training, I'd kind of toss it out. But with a guy like Rafaela, the changes he's made, they make me feel confident about his future. And it's at the point where I'm like, all right, just start the guy in center field. Give us something, even if the team control, whatever. We're seeing them extend young guys. That's kind of made me come around a little bit. Like maybe they do that with him too, and it's not as bad. Also, Gordo, you made a good point. They didn't do it with Casas. Either they didn't suppress his service time. So, yeah, I mean, I've changed my mind about it. Just start him in center field. It doesn't need to be like the month and a half thing. I would get it if they start him in AAA, but I'm joining the Sedon on the Major League roster team now.
Officially. Pat, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I was always on the fence of he should be on the major league team, but I thought they were going to option him. I'm with Sammy. They're making him, to me, it looks like they want him to lose the job. Like he already has a job. The only thing he can do wrong is lose it. I think he's on the team. And
Like
I
it's
agree.
his job to lose.
Yes. I think the other thing is you have to know what Sedon Rafaela is. Sedon Rafaela will always be a high swinging, like he's going to be a guy who strikes out. He's going to be a guy who swings and misses. But he also is a guy who has a future as a potential multiple time Gold Glove winner. He does have pop. We've seen it in the spring. Like there's value there, even if that bat doesn't play like it did in AAA. And Gordon, you brought it up yesterday. A lot of the Sox pitchers are contact hitters. You have to have good defense up the middle. He helps that a ton. He helps with the run prevention. So, yeah, to me, he absolutely has to be on that opening day roster. He should be the starting center fielder in Seattle.
Good call, Pat. Their best chance to win, in my opinion, is run prevention, which sounds crazy after how bad the defense was last year. And, it helps a lot to have Sedon Rafaela in center field. But then on the negative side, you don't have Grissom at second base. So you have Emmanuel Valdez, probably the starter. And I don't want to be dramatic. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy look more uncomfortable playing the field in any major league position ever than that guy.
He's a little better than he was.
I could not believe that. If he improves a little bit, great. He's still going to be awful. And then you have Devers at third base, who's a very bad defender. So, there's some bright spots with Story at short. Up the middle, like you said, Pat. Sedon in center, Story at short, Wong at catcher. I like that. But then you have second base is kind of not great. Casas, I do think, is going to be a good defender at first. He was really good in the minors. I would assume he was just a little bit in his head last year in the first half when he struggled. So, yeah, man, I guess run prevention's the best chance.
Yeah.
Let's do it if they can field enough arms to get through 9 innings.
One thing that people everyone's talking about Valdez right now because we're all very hung up on the opening day roster. But I think one thing that actually is a greater concern to me is Grissom. Just listening to what Lou Merloni had to say, I want to say he has said it on the Fenway Rundown, but I want to say he also said it in a dog walking video that he watched Grissom taking ground balls at second, didn't, and this is before his injury, before his bigger injury. I forget he had something before, but he got something bigger. He didn't look that great, didn't look that comfortable, didn't really look that comfortable throwing the ball. And obviously with this injury now, he's not going to get time to work with his double play partner, Story. And this is a new position for him. He's been working at shortstop. Now he's working at second base. So, yeah, up the middle defense, as you said, Sammy, is probably the most important. It is the most important defensive spots is all of those: center field, shortstop, second base, catcher. Like, you need those spots to be solid. And when the roster is healthy, you feel good. If Rafael is a center fielder, you feel good there. You feel good about Story at short. You feel good with Wong at catcher. You need to feel good with Grissom at second base. So I'll be looking to that. But as for the Rafaela question, it's interesting to me because I beforehand wanted to see him start in AAA, but it wasn't about service time for me. I just thought that there was a better lineup that you could field with, say, CJ Cron as your DH and Yoshida as your left fielder, Duran as your center fielder, O'Neill as your right fielder, or Willier out there maybe. Like, there's lineups I thought were better. And that might still be the case, but the fact of the matter is you look at where this team is right now. Duran is being brought along slowly because of that foot thing, and he had an ankle thing last week too. So, like, he's not 100%. Tyler O'Neill didn't go to the DR because he has a calf issue. Is he someone you want to be thrown out there in center field a bunch? Willier Abreu, he's hitting 160 this spring, and like, he's a fine corner outfielder, but he's not. He played a little bit of center, but he's not someone I want out there.
No, he's not a fielder.
Basically, if you're not confident enough in Duran being out there most days, which health-wise alone, I don't think you can be. I think Sedon Rafaela has this job. I think the way they're bringing these guys along injury-wise, I think it's his job, and he's playing well enough to have earned the job anyway. So I'm not going to say I'm all aboard the Rafaela on the opening day roster train, but I think at this point, like, my needle has moved to he should be the starting center fielder. Pat?
You brought up a really good point, and it's something that I feel like hasn't been talked about. Willier Abreu is not a lock for the roster right now.
I've always thought that, like, only one of him or Sedon can make it.
Yeah, people were really, really high on him, and I don't blame them. He played great in the playing time he got last year. But the thing with me personally is you keep Rafaela, he's your center fielder. In all likelihood, you go O'Neill and right, Duran and left. Then it comes down to the bench outfield spot. Are you really willing to release Rob Refsnyder right now to keep Willier Abreu in the majors? To me, that's no. Exactly. Yeah.
It's tough.
So I don't think he makes the opening day roster.
You also don't want him riding Abreu's in the same boat as Rafaela to me, where I don't want him riding the bench.
That's
I mean,
the
in
big
theory,
part,
like, what you could do, and another, Pat, you said the outfield alignment. I agree with you. If Rafaela makes the team, he's the center fielder, Duran's the left fielder, and O'Neill is probably the right fielder. But one thing that I've taken note of is I don't think O'Neill has played a single game in right this spring. Obviously, there's time to do that. Like, he needs to learn the Fenway left field. Right field is obviously it's big, but it's just like any ballpark. It's not like you have to learn the wall or anything. But it'll be interesting if they start playing O'Neill in right later in the spring. I think that kind of tips their hand. And if they don't, then you have to start wondering, okay, like, what are they thinking?
Fenway right field. I would say Fenway right field is the most difficult right field in the world.
It is, but it's not like you need to, like, learn something weird to play it. You just need to be an athlete. Like, if there's nothing new you have to learn.
You essentially need two center fielders if you're the Red Sox. Because that's how big and how difficult right field is.
Yeah.
You need to have a guy who can navigate the triangle in center and navigate that big wrapping wall down and right.
That's why I was at the beginning of the offseason. That's why I was saying Rafaela should be an option for right field, because it's not a regular right field. It's basically like center field 2. And if you have Duran in center, because at the time we were all thinking about Duran is going to be the center fielder, and then the Red Sox are a big market team, so there's no way they're not going to replace Justin Turner's offense. Therefore, Yoshida's in left field. Things change. But that's another option. I think Rafael's probably going to be the center fielder, but
they haven't played him in the corners at all. And Duran, like, I know some people might hear us talking and say, you need two center fielders. Rafael is center field. Why not put Duran in right? Duran doesn't have the arm for right field. So if he's not in center, he has to be in left. And honestly, he
Doesn't have the
profiles as a
arm
left
nor
fielder
the
anyway.
range to play. Yeah, no way on that.
Yeah.
Also, Rafaela has a plus arm too. People don't really talk about that. They talk about the range, understandably, but he also has a plus arm, of course,
Yeah.
as if that's a surprise.
Dude's a stud out there. There's no getting around that.
Yeah,
He would transform that outfield defense. And not to mention, like, we talk about Duran as because like we talk about him like kind of like he's like an average to below average defensive center fielder, and he is. But if you move him to left, like that changes, man. Like he
much
is
less to think about.
there. You have an athlete out there. The arm is not an issue anymore, and like he's improved his first step. His first step was really good last year. Like the routes weren't great; they were okay, but the first step was good, and that stuff becomes a lot less important in left field. Like you got an athlete out there. He'd be a really obviously a huge upgrade over Yoshida.
On the World Series teams, who have been the left fielders? So Manny
again.
Benintendi.
Well, Manny.
Yeah, Manny, Benintendi in 2018. Who's 13?
They
13 was
platooned
Mike
Gomes
Carp
and
and
Nava.
Johnny Gomes.
Okay. All those guys are below average defense. I know Benintendi has the gold glove, but the metrics hate him. He's like well below average, also has a weak arm, which is funny because he's like best known for that incredible catch in Houston. But yeah, defense in left field at Fenway, I can't think of a less impactful defensive spot in the sport. Not
That's
that
true.
it's not important, but just like if you had to choose one, I can't think of any. Like, there's no ground.
There's a reason they tried to put Hanley out there. And
I was just going to say that. Hanley Ramirez played left field for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah,
Anybody can do it.
all
he
you gotta
can't be
do-
that bad though. That
learn
was
the
really
Green
bad.
Monster, learn the Green Monster. You know, I guess that's a challenge. Once you get that, like, what do you have to worry about? You got no ground to cover. It's tiny. Be careful of the wall to your right. It's a little dangerous. That's it.
Yeah, and if the light breaks, don't step on the glass.
I was at that game too.
What was that like in person? Did you just like not did you see it go into the wall and understand what was happening, or did the ball just disappear and you had no idea?
I kind of was just I really didn't know what to think. I thought that the ball like got stuck under the wall, kind of, because Yoshida lifted his hands up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
By the way, you know who started that game for the Royals?
Oh, that had to be your boy. What's his name? Jordan Lyles. Was it Jordan Lyles?
Jordan Lyles.
Go away. Ugh.
Beast.
I cannot believe how many times this Playtesty and Bradfo show, I cannot believe how many times we have talked about Jordan freaking Lyles.
Pretty sure he pitched 8 innings that game too. Like he dominated.
killed it.
Red Sox won, but it was like an embarrassing. Like Jesus, we almost just lost to Jordan Lyles and his 6.6 ERA. But yeah, that was a weird moment. I also don't fully agree with what Julian was saying yesterday about Yoshida being like really bad defensive. Like he's definitely bad, but I don't think he's like Hanley out there. He's like,
No, yeah, there's a difference. He is
Yeah.
really, really bad though.
He's bad,
Particularly
yeah, for
like
sure, for
not at Fenway.
I
Like,
just don't I don't hold my breath when the ball's hit to him. Like with Hanley out there, it could be a fly ball and I'm like, my heart stops for a moment. I'm like, oh God, it's going to fall and the team's going to lose. Yoshida, I'm like, he'll make the routine plays. His arm is not great, whatever. Yeah.
This is going to sound weird, but for younger listeners who may not necessarily remember Hanley out there, just the way it was with Hanley in left field, it was like last year when a ball was hit to Kike. That's
Oh yeah.
and honestly, it might have even been worse if we're being honest with ourselves.
No, I put them the same.
It was
It's much easier to make an error at shortstop, which is why I make it the same.
That's true. I mean, yeah, Kike, yeah. It's hard to make tons of mistakes in the Fenway left field, but Hanley, there's a reason he only got 1 year at that, and then they were moving over.
I got a weird take. I got a really weird take. It's going to make me sound insane. You can be a bad defensive left fielder, but be a good left fielder at Fenway. Like, I thought Manny Ramirez was really good at playing the monster. Was he a good defender? Was he a good defender? Absolutely not. He sucked defensively. But he knew Fenway really well, and generally he played the ball off the wall well, and like he was a good cutoff man for Johnny Damon too. But like, does that make sense? Like, you don't have to be a good defender to handle Fenway's left field, I guess.
Yeah, he was as good as you could be in the Fenway specific left field. Yes.
Yeah.
He played that wall better than
remember
anyone.
when Carl Crawford came here, a gold glove defender. You put him in left field, makes no difference because there's no ground to cover. That's why when Tyler O'Neill was signed and people were like, gold glover, I'm like, okay. He's gonna cover all that left field ground.
Yeah,
Huge.
it'll definitely be interesting to see if he gets reps in right field, because I do feel like that's them tipping their hand if that happens. Speaking of Manny, this just popped into my head. Was that kind of a swing and a miss not getting him at this DR series, or is there relation? Like, I know he's been back at Fenway to have his like Sox Hall of Fame induction, and like he's been back a couple of times for like the 04 stuff, and he'll probably be back this year for it too. But shouldn't he have been at the DR thing?
Nah,
Why? They love him. I love him.
we love him. Yeah, but like, nah.
Why? Come on.
Dude, you remember what Papelbon told us about what Manny's like? I don't want him putting any bad ideas in the young guy's head. Like, yo,
Oh,
if you don't
no,
like
not-
this
he doesn't
place,
have to-
just tear it apart.
He doesn't have to be around the players. He can just be around the fans and do
Photo
whatever
op.
the ceremony. Yeah, photo ops and big checks and
He's probably still playing. He's probably playing for a team in like, I don't know, like Albania. He's like the best player in Albania or something. I don't know, but he's probably still playing.
I used to follow those. Like, Manny used to sign in all these random places, and like I remember he was like in the Rangers minor leagues, and then he was playing in like Japan, and I want to say he went to Australia. Like, I used to follow that shit like it was like gospel. I don't know. Like, I just was very Manny was my favorite player growing up. He could do no wrong. Like, he did so many wrong things, and he could do no wrong to me.
Yeah, no, he was great and he was fun, and he's a good player, so they kept him around a long time.
Yeah, they put up. I mean, that's the thing is when you put up the numbers, they'll put up with your shit.
It's nuts how long we got to have Ortiz and Manny back to back in whatever order in the lineup. Like, we had that for so long.
I had
It
no
was
idea
great.
what we had.
I figured it was like, yeah, you're a Major League Baseball team. Of course, you have two beasts at 3 and 4. That's how it goes. So,
Should we do some enough said?
Let's hit it.
yeah,
Either you guys want to kick it off? What do you
I
got,
can bat lead off.
Pat?
Perfect timing because he just walked across the stage naked at the Oscars. Have you guys ever been to John Cena's
What?
Instagram account?
Wait, he what?
He's just presented at the Oscars naked.
isn't it a fake nude suit?
No, that's his actual body.
That's sweet.
Wait,
No, I'm gonna look at it right now.
I didn't even hear your question because I'm just stuck
Sorry.
on.
Go to
He was-
John Cena's Instagram account.
Okay.
All he does is post random pictures, no captions. He gives no context to anything he posts,
my
and it's
God.
incredible.
Big Red Sox fan, John Cena.
Oh my god. What?
What is this? This is so weird. He posts the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, Fat Randy. No context.
He posts.
Yep.
Why can't I remember what show this is?
I think you should
I
leave.
think you should leave. Yeah. He posts that.
Yeah,
Stephen
these are-
Colbert, The
Wait,
Rock.
can
It's
we go
incredible.
back? What do you mean he walked across the stage naked? He didn't actually do that, did he?
Yeah, just go on Twitter.
Like, was this wasn't planned, I assume, right?
No, it was. He had a cue card over, the genitalia, but
Oh god.
Oh,
Oh god.
he's naked.
He really is naked. He does
He's
have a
almost as-
card over it, but
almost as big as Tyler O'Neill.
I could not be. There's no level of fit I could. There's no level of shape I could be in where I'd be cool doing that. Like,
Oh,
even
I'd
if it
do
would
it.
just be like an ultimate show off, dude.
That'd be
Everyone,
funny.
dude, a lot could go wrong.
What would go wrong? The only thing. Well,
You drop the card.
If you drop the card, you're like a legend, a funny joke forever. The guy who was accidentally naked at the Oscars, you'd be a hero. You'd be an American hero. They'd probably
Yep.
make a holiday after you.
You'd be a punchline.
Yeah, but if you have a good sense of humor, who cares? Just
Yeah,
be like,
depends
oh
if you're
yeah,
backing if you're a
I'm
punchline.
wild. That happened to me back in college.
You'd have to like play it off like, I meant to drop that card.
Yeah, you just gotta embrace. You just gotta lean into it. That's the key. Anytime you get dunked on, just lean into it. Like when I was wrong about Rafaela, leaned into it. Boom.
And when you're wrong about Rafael Devers being the third baseman for the next 5 years,
No.
you'll lean into it.
I think he'll be the third baseman for the next 5 years. I don't think he should be though, because he's really, really bad at playing the position. Therefore, I think the team is better when he's not playing the position.
What percentile on that Savant page does he need to be at for you to be like, okay, he should be there? He should be
30.
playing.
30.
Okay.
That's so low.
For me it's 20, but we'll go with 30. And if he ever
You're-
posts a year above 30, you have to walk across the play testy screen with nothing but a cue card in front of your.
Sure, gladly. If you are 30th percentile defense, you're terrible. That's
That's bad.
awful. And that is all he has to do is get there. He was 4th percentile last year. If
I'm
we're just
rooting for
using
you, Rafi. I believe
I am
in
too.
Rafi.
I want to be wrong. I want to get roasted for this. I want everyone to dunk on me for this because it means the Red Sox are better. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'll say it again. I don't know how many times I said it on the show. 7,130 innings of proof to tell you he is not a good defender. I don't think it's going to change. I don't think the 8th season is the charm, nor the 8,000th inning is the charm. We'll see. But I'm not
Believe
confident.
it's coming. There's signs of it, man. You just gotta put
You
it
say
together
believe?
in his head. I
We
believe.
used to have this guy at the Boston Globe. When I worked at the Globe, I would pick up the phones like late when I did the night shift, and this one guy would call in just to like shoot the shit, and he would always be like, "The 04 Red Sox taught me how to believe." So every time I hear "believe," I think of an old guy like, "Believe into my phone."
Well, that guy, think about that, but with Devers playing defense. Believe.
Believe that he'll be in the 30th percentile of
Yes.
defenders at his position.
Yes.
Can you name the one guy who was a worse defender in terms of OAA at 3rd last year?
Muncy.
Nope, no, not
You said it.
Muncy.
You've said it before, Sammy, but I can't put my finger on it. Who is it?
He's no longer a 3rd baseman because he was terrible at it, so they moved him, which is the concept I'm in favor of. But
Who is it?
Spencer Steer.
Spencer Steer. Oh, maybe you haven't said that because that doesn't ring a bell.
Wait, maybe. Hold on, let me check Muncy. I feel like that might not be right.
Wasn't he playing like
Muncy was
second base or
atrocious.
something?
Yeah, he's a terrible defender.
He's one of those guys
He's
that's like,
tied with Rafi. He and Rafi are tied.
he's one of those guys where it's like quote unquote versatile. Like, yeah, he can play the positions. It's like Kike playing the infield. It's like, yeah, he can play it. I could play it.
Kike's a versatile defender, just not at shortstop.
Hey,
Like,
there's going to be a new sheriff in
Solid center
town.
Fielder, solid center fielder, capable at second base, shortstop, disaster piece. Don't do
There's
it.
going to be a new sheriff in town and worst OAA this season.
Who is it?
Gavin Lux.
Oh yeah, I feel bad. He's looked really
This
bad.
is so Dodgers. This is so Dodgers. They're like, oh, we got it all figured out. We got Shohei, we got Yamamoto, Mookie, Glasnow, James Paxton. But they forgot one thing.
The middle infielder skipping rocks over to first base.
You can't play defense. And that matters, especially in the playoffs. So I'm excited for the Reds to knock them out in the NLDS. That'll be hilarious. Ellie Dale.
Spencer Steer, man. Spencer Steer hitting walk-offs in Game 5.
Yep, as the DH.
Would you guys
He's not turning the team with his bad defense? He'll be DHing, hitting tanks.
I think the answer is going to be yes. But would you want the Dodgers to win the World Series this year if it meant Cora stays?
If it could guarantee me Cora staying,
If they
really
like
care about
if
the
they
Dodgers.
don't win, he goes to LA. If they win, he stays in Boston.
I don't care if they win the World Series. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. It just means as long as the Yankees don't win, like anyone
Yeah.
can win to me.
I'm kind of in that boat too. I just don't want to see the Yankees win. Who else would we hate to see win the World? I think nobody,
Houston.
honestly.
Houston.
I like Houston because I see them as like the Red Sox hitman with how many times they've knocked the Yankees out. So I've kind of come around on them.
Yeah, for me, it might just be the Yankees. Like, there's other teams I wouldn't necessarily like to see win the World Series. Like, I'm not going to root for like Toronto to win the World Series or anything, but like,
That'd be cool.
eh,
They haven't had any fun in what, 92 was the last time Toronto won.
it's been some time.
93.
Who do I hate? I guess the Dodgers. Yeah, I guess that would be my second, but I still don't really care that much. Phillies, I'm on and off with, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I just can't root for the city of Philadelphia. But like, I love all the players on that team, so it's hard.
The Rays would be gross. That would be bad for the sport, I think. I feel like that would just vindicate the small market approach and like nobody would care.
But it's not out of hatred. It's not out of hatred.
Hosting the World Series. Ugh, we've already seen it once. It's gross. So, yeah. Can you believe that? The Trop had multiple World Series games played at it.
Yeah, wild.
That's one of my biggest need to go to stadiums or ballparks. I need to see it.
Is it near Fort Myers at all? Can we do a tour?
I don't
think so.
I don't know the layout of Florida at all.
I don't think it's close. I think it's several hours away. The Florida layout for spring training stinks. They need to just overhaul it and just build it just like they have it in Arizona, but they'll never do it. Be great to see though. Sam, you got enough said?
Yeah. Actually, it's a food thing. I like talking about food. Enough said. It's kind of become a thing I like. Two things. First off, restocked today. New kiwis, ready to rock. Shout out.
For reference, I drove to Sammy's to pick him up to go to radio, and he came out of his apartment with a kiwi for me, and I took a big bite out of it, just like he said. It's really good.
Hell yeah. The other thing is, okay, have you guys heard of plov?
No.
Cloth?
PLOV.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so I'm having it tonight for dinner. I smell it being made in the kitchen right now. It's like the best dish ever. It's from Russia and Uzbekistan. Couldn't recommend it more. It's basically like their version of fried rice, and you have like carrots, onions, a ton of garlic, and then you have like beef or lamb, like cubed up, kind of chopped up, and you slowly let it simmer, and everything kind of like mixes together. It's also really nice. You put like a little dash of mayonnaise to get that tanginess, and then so freaking good. I'm gonna send you guys a recipe, but yeah, really good dish that I wanted to shout out, and shout out to Uzbekistan because Uzbekistan needs some love.
They do need some love out there in Uzbekistan. Pat had pizza tonight. Pat was eating pizza before we got on, and you inspired me, Pat. I'm making pizza after this.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to tell you guys tonight how I make my pizza. I will tell you some other time. I'll tell you on the show another time. We're just going to have to save it because
How you make it or what goes on it?
what goes on it.
Okay.
You like pineapples, don't you?
No, and you'll never be able to guess, so it's not even worth your time to guess.
You want to know something real silly that I've been doing?
Yeah.
We got a big packet of like bagels in bulk. So I've been having pizza bagels for lunch. And to spice up my day, I've been putting a ton of ghost pepper sauce underneath the salami and cheese, but only on one of the two sides. So I kind of like don't really look when I put it in, and then I walk away and I kind of forget which one is which. So it's like a surprise. My mouth just catches on fire at some point, and it's really fun. Yeah.
You're a
I'm
wild
really
man. Bold.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is this gonna hurt? Holy shit! Yeah, and it's ghost pepper too, so it's
that's legit.
hot. Yeah, it's hot as hell. Little trick for the listeners.
Hell yeah.
Spice up your life.
Quite literally.
I really thought that Blake Snell was gonna sign while we were recording. I'm a little upset.
Yeah, he kind of screwed it. He posted those stupid eye. I hate the eye. They got to remove the eye emojis. I think I'm over it at this point. They got to get rid of it because Blake Snell's posting the eye emoji on his Instagram that was like at noon and nothing has happened. It's been
Where's he gonna sign? What do you think?
Angels.
Giants.
Yankees.
Wow.
3 different ones. Okay, we'll see who's right. I hope I'm not right. I would be very pissed if I were right.
I hope Pat is right. I hope Pat's right. Yeah.
Giants would be fun.
Right.
Giants would be good. Who'd you say, Gordo?
I said Angels.
No, see, I want you to be right because the Red Sox play the Angels early, so you can get Snell while he's still kind of getting used to it.
That's interesting.
It's for one
No,
game.
I'll still root for Pat because it's just not even in the AL. But then again, we only faced them one other time after that. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Who cares?
As long as it's not the Yankees. Just don't let that happen.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Boston, so.
Yeah, no. My enough said. Question for you guys. So today was Daylight Savings Day. Which daylight savings is better? The one where you lose the hour of sleep, but you gain daylight at the end of the day, or the one where you gain the hour of sleep, but you lose the daylight at the end of the day? Today's is better.
Yeah, sunset's later. You lose an hour of sleep on a Sunday. It was sunny till like almost 7 o'clock, 7:30 tonight. It's awesome.
Sammy?
I like today's.
That's hard for me to answer because in the winter, when it's cold, I like it to be dark early. And then in the summer, when it's hot, I like it to be sunny late. So
why do you like it to be darker? Okay, I'm giving away my answer.
Cozy.
Pat is unequivocally right. This one is a gazillion times better.
It's cozy when it's like cold and
Cozy.
snowing, and then you like you go to bed early. It's nice. I like it. You're all like warm in your home.
You could
It's
be
dark
warm in
out.
your home and it could be light out.
Yeah, but that's not as then I feel like I have to go outside because we live in New England and we have to go outside when it's sunny, or else we're losing our opportunity.
But what if it were just like sunny? But that's a different question.
I prefer when it's hot in the summer and like we're going to like Red Sox games and the sun's out. If I had to pick, but like I like both to be fair.
I can't stand it getting dark at 4:30, 5:30, whatever. Today is like one of the best days of the year for me because now it's getting dark. What was the sunset at like 7 day, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be like how many months before it sets before like 6 again? Like, hell yes. I like this one way better. I saw way too many people complaining about losing the hour of sleep. I don't give a shit about your sleep. This is way better. Give me the daylight. We all get the daylight.
Sleep matters for me though because I often have like 10:30 p.m. meeting start times, so I sometimes get to bed late. I need to sleep, but generally I can sleep in. Work from home life.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
No commute is key. Any other thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Nada.
Bobby Dahlbeck's not going to make the team.
Nope.
Nice grand slam from him.
Oh wait,
But yeah.
has anyone seen CJ Crone in Fort Myers?
He's apparently playing tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
Or
he's
today
not.
if you're listening on drop day.
that's all.
Yeah, even without Crone, I don't.
Yeah, no.
Nice grand slam today, but didn't he strike out like 10 out of 17 at bats or something crazy?
Yeah,
It was something like that. Yeah.
he did. And honestly, like, yeah, well, obviously, yes, I don't think he's going to make the team, but we might get on DFA watch soon at some point early in the season. We'll see.
He hit that grand slam today or Sunday, and my first thought was like that just bought him another like 4 months in the eyes of the Red Sox fans. His
It
leash
really-
gets longer. You don't look at this 10 Ks and 17 at bats. Look at ball go far, over fence, 4-point lead, go Celtics.
Off of AAA pitcher.
On a 87 mile an hour cut fastball right down the middle.
Yeah.
If he gets an 87 mile an hour cut fastball right down the middle from a AAA pitcher every time, you never know.
He might be Barry Bonds.
Hey man, if he were getting 87 mile an hour cutters down the middle at the major leagues, like he'd be up here, man. He would be.
Cooper Criswell throws an 87 mile an hour cutter. Anyway.
We love Cooper Criswell on this show. On that note, this has been episode 50 of Play Tessie. We appreciate you guys tuning in, but before you tune out, remember, hit us up on those socials. We're at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, the Odyssey app, just remember to hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, rate us 5 stars, say whatever you want in the comment. We don't really care. Comments help us. The 5 stars helps us, and the subscriptions help you guys. So do all that. And be sure to hit us up on YouTube. We're on the WEI YouTube channel. We have our own playlist. So hit that thumbs up button there and check us out there if you haven't. Some good visuals. Coop's been working in the background. We had some good visuals on today's show. So that was really cool. But yeah, for Sammy, for Pat, for Coop in the background, it's Gordo. This has been Play Tessie episode 50. Thanks for tuning in. Toodaloo.